The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening news.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters for this Tuesday, the 4th of March. I almost said February. Of March, episode 148 here on NOK Network, the video news podcast focused on psychedelic medicine being reported in mainstream media. Shout out to the guys, the Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, for the awesome intro track, originally recorded by the Moody Moose, with some customized changes for our show. I am joined by my amazing joint sub-host, Ron McNabb. Hi, along with the one and Buffo only Alvarius, who has chosen all of our stories for us. Hello to Ron.
That's right. Hello, hobbies, and hello, everyone. And I'd like to introduce Buffo right now to you all. Here he is right there. And he is the Sonoran desert toad or Colorado mud toad, and he emits DMT from his skin. And as always, we'd like to the park rangers would like to remind everyone to please don't lick the toad. So no licking toads, folks. No licking toads, right?
How much you want to lick it? You're right. You can get DMT. I found out last Thursday on Open Your Eye. There's so many different ways to get DMT. You don't have to bring a toad into it.
Wow. And yeah, that's something. So you said last Thursday on Open Your Eye?
Yeah, we got to sit down with one of the practitioners for different stuff.
Was it Jameson Rambrose?
Jameson, yeah.
Yeah, returning guest. And
second time with him.
Yeah, I'll have to check that show out. I've been so busy shopping around for a new vehicle or new to me vehicle right now that I've missed out on watching some of the replays on some of this stuff. So I'll have to definitely check that out and learn some more stuff about DMT there.
Yeah. So getting right into it, Buffo has picked out a heck of a article and stuff. And the first one here comes right out of amp.miamiherald.com. And in the Miami Herald, it says, take a trip to White Cottage. Group meets in Miami to type psychedelic solutions. Huh? You say? This is written by Ashley Mesnavi. You want to let us get right in there for us, Ron?
Yeah, we'll do that. In South Florida, innovative ideas are being employed every day to deal with climate change threats. Startup tech companies are 3 3D printing seawalls, turning seaweed into fertilizer, and there's some clicky links there, and even building houses out of recycled plastic, and another link there. One group that gathered recently in Miami has a more unorthodox idea for coping with what may well be an existential crisis for South Florida in the coming decades. They are pitching the notion that tripping on some magic mushrooms or other hallucinogens might inspire consciousness shifts in the populace to do better for the planet. Major legal hurdles aside, psilocybin, the substance in mushrooms that triggers trips, is a controlled substance, and using it or selling it is a crime in Florida and many states. The idea is that if more people transcend into a psychedelic realm, it could encourage more awe and appreciation of nature and a deeper personal connection to the world. Psychedelics for Climate Action, or otherwise known as PSYCA, and there's a link there, hopes that maybe, just maybe, mankind or humankind might learn to live in harmony like a flock of birds. And psychedelics teach that we are all one, that we are all family on this planet, and we need to collectively protect our homes, said Marissa Feinberg, PYSCA's, or I guess PSYCA's founder. And members of the group met for the first time in Miami last week with the goal of demystifying psychedelics that have shown promise in treating several mental issues like depression and addiction. The night consisted of talks followed by meditation and dancing at the Climate and Innovation Hub of Miami in Little Haiti. Speakers included locals from the Miccosukee tribe and a Miami-based ketamine therapist, as well as visitors who came from as far as Iceland. Wow, that is a distance.
It is, yeah. Yadira Diaz, who leads the Miami chapter of the group, said while she was living in California, working for Pepsi, selling plastic for a living, she had life-altering trips on a psychedelic drug called DMT and mushrooms that inspired her to pivot careers. She moved back home to Miami and built a climate startup Creatable, where she works with clients like the event venue Factory Town to identify ways to cut waste and energy that will ultimately save the business money. It can be a really beautiful, powerful awakening, Diaz says. When we feel our best, we do our best. Psychedelic trips can produce intense emotions or out-of-body experiences, including hallucination, and it's been described as feeling like time. One good trip, users say nature can appear more saturated and vibrant and move in a way that almost looks like it's breathing. This last weekend, Diaz said she was in the Florida Keys with some friends kayaking. They took some mushrooms, then went on a hike and snorkeled. During the psychedelic experience, she said, they talked about how the Keys would be the first to go from sea level rise and how lucky they were to experience it. Huh.
Yeah. That's one example where it was just a beautiful experience with a beautiful group of people with the right environment, with the right doses, and we were just all frolicking and having the best time, Diaz said. Psychedelics are illegal in Florida, but some, mostly mushrooms, aka shrooms, are also fairly widely used, and all bills introduced to try to decriminalize them have died. Although there was a Florida bill introduced last year, and there's a link there, currently in committee, that could require the Department of Health to conduct a study on alternative mental health treatments like psilocybin and ketamine. The FDA also approved a form of ketamine, a drug originally approved as an anesthetic for children, as a treatment for depression in adults with treatment-resistant depression. Francesca Cercioni, a holistic therapist now living in Miami, said she has clients who suffer from anxiety over the implications of climate change. Ketamine that patients put under their tongue has been particularly helpful with one of her longtime clients from New York who lost her home after Hurricane Sandy. Ketamine helps reorganize activity in the brain and process trauma. Cercioni said, it's a way for patients to connect with the oneness of the world and do something outside of themselves. The event Psycha has hosted so far in New York and the launch event in Miami are medicine free, although they did offer drinks microdosed with Delta 9, illegal cannabis less psychoactive than weed, and functional lion mane mushroom. I consider these events to be like integration, for these people to come together, connect with each other, build community, support each other, Feinberg said.
There are, for those interested, 6-day mushroom coaching retreats in the Udo jurisdiction, the last to be in the Netherlands. The program, called Connected Leadership, is the first to study psychedelic creativity and decision-making in business leaders observed by the University of Maryland professor Bennett Gelman. The group says small business founders and even managers of multinational companies have paid around $10,000, not including the flight, to get dosed with psychedelics. Oh man, Reverend Houston.
That's yeah. I was just saying that's crazy. $10,000, not even including the flight.
Right, dude. And what about food after you come off of it and you're refueling your stuff? I always like to eat a good meal before I stream, so that's always a good, and
right. So, anyways, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. And Reverend Houston Cypress, who reads the poem during the night, said he grew up benefiting from the Mikosaki tribe's plant-based medicine. Afterwards, he told the Miami Herald those very plants were threatened by development or bad policy. He wants to guard the conditions for the plant medicines to grow. Let's make sure these plant medicines are available for the future. Let's make sure they're available for the next generation. The debate that has been brought up in psychedelic science conferences whether indigenous plants like peyote, for example, can be respectfully taken from the ground and indigenous people to bring it up mainstream. Cypress thinks there's a way it could be done ethically, and I agree with him.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can. I was just. I said that was my added improv. That I agree with. But now you can read it if you want.
Yeah, we can use science to produce these medicines in forms that are not so extractive or not so destructive to the ecosystem, Cypress said. We can make these available in ways that are respectful of nature, that are respectful of indigenous communities, and are not appropriative of indigenous communities either. This is certainly not the first group to suggest psychedelics could make the world a better place. In the 1960s, the band talked about the inspiration of psychedelics, mainly LSD, on their music and about how they felt that giving it to all our leaders would put an end to wars. The hallucinogenics also inspired multiple hits like Come Together, but they later, according to Rolling Stone, stopped extolling its virtues. Veterans have also been at the forefront of fighting for psychedelics for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD treatment. The Department of Veteran Affairs allocated millions of dollars, and there's a link there, for a psychedelic therapy program to treat PTSD. Some veterans didn't want to wait for the funding to come through and went to Mexico to receive treatment. There's a link for that story there. But there are also significant questions about its long-term use and potential side effects. Florida State Senator Jake Hollins, a Republican from the Tampa area, sponsored a project at USF Health. There's a link that funded a clinical trial into the efficacy of psilocybin as a treatment for PTSD in veterans, and another link there. But counter to Psyched's goals, he also introduced bills that would erase the word climate change from state laws. Next steps for the group in Miami are still being figured out. One idea Psycha has is to create a climate action guide to help people once they have tried mushrooms or other psychedelics to actually get involved in sustainable projects in their community. The big, hairy, audacious goal would be to actually help to create a consciousness shift to help catalyze this with this community and make ourselves obsolete, Feinberg said. We shouldn't need a whole climate action movement. It should be a way of life. And Ashley Misnazi is a climate change reporter from the Miami Herald, funded by the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Family Foundation in partnership with journalism funding partners. So, very interesting story there.
It was, and just the fact that Miami Herald is bringing this up around a bunch of voters, okay, and the way they wrote it wasn't really biased in any way. It was factual for exactly. The voters to come up with their own thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I thought it was a pretty well-written article. So.
Our next article is, I will pop that baby up. Where is it? Right there. Okay. The next article comes right out of news.uthcsa.edu, which means it's the University of Texas Health San Antonio. Researchers to test psychedelic drugs plus therapy to help military members with PTSD, shared by Stephen Lee. This is one kick-ass fucking article of Why in Consistence by Julie Collins. Thank you. Ron, can you start us out, man?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Researchers at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio and the collaborators at Emory University have received a $4.9 million grant aimed at significantly improving treatment and recovery rates for individuals suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. The project was recently selected for funding by the U.S. Department of Defense through a call for studies to evaluate psychedelics as a treatment for PTSD in hopes of pushing the field forward. In this effort, the innovative clinical trial will use 3,4-methylene dioxymethamphetamine hydrochloride, or MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy, in combination with a leading therapy for PTSD called prolonged exposure. Prolonged exposure therapy for PTSD works by helping individuals process traumatic memories and feelings while recalling them in a safe environment. The goal of the new study is to capitalize on beneficial MDMA properties in a synergistic way to enhance prolonged exposure's efficacy, hopefully leading to greater symptom reductions and more patients being treated into remission. The trial's lead investigator is Alan Peterson, PhD, professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at UT Health San Antonio, and director of the Strong Star Consortium. Strong Star is a national research network focused on finding the best preventions and treatments for psychological health issues affecting military members, veterans, and first responders. That's really cool.
It is. This whole everything about this is cool, especially the location because it's Texas. And I
Right?
mean, this means big things for Texas. You know,
Yeah,
cognitive
definitely.
behavioral psychotherapies have the strongest scientific support for the treatment of PTSD. But for military service members and veterans, recovery rates with these treatments seem to have maximized about 50%, Peterson said. Existing medications have not shown good promise when used alone. So we're looking at novel ways to enhance treatment outcomes so that more of our psychologically wounded warfighters have the chance of full recovery from PTSD. Researchers believe MDMA shows some of the greatest potential in this regard. One reason is that MDMA, in combination with psychotherapy, has demonstrated significant improvement in PTSD. It has revealed increased neuroplasticity for the brain's ability to adapt for about 2 weeks after administration, which is beneficial for the therapeutic learning. Finally, the impact emotional memory circuits related to PTSD development and recovery. These memory circuits affect conditions and fear responses that are associated with PTSD. Researchers think MDMA will work synergistically with prolonged exposure to help patients progress traumatic memory. Our research support for MDMA comes from study collaborators at Emory University School of Medicine, who include Jessica Maples Keller, PhD, Barbara Rossbaum, PhD, and Bodie Dunlap, PhD. Oh, wow, man, this is great.
Yeah, sorry, I missed where we are at. Where
We're,
are,
we're in an ongoing, open.
okay, ongoing. Sorry, I lost my spot here.
Yeah, it's right after all the doctor names, halfway down.
Okay, sorry, I was scrolling ahead just to see how much we had left, and
No, I'm going to have to pack my ball in a second or two.
okay, there we go. You said other research support or ongoing. In an ongoing open label pilot study by the Emory Healthcare Veterans Program, results show that one dose of MDMA significantly reduces PTSD symptoms among military members and veterans when combined with masked prolonged exposure PE. In masked PE, therapy is delivered daily for 2 weeks instead of the standard once or twice weekly over several weeks or months, coinciding with the timeline of MDMA's therapeutic effects on neuroplasticity. With this in mind, Peterson and his colleagues designed the new Strong Star trial to incorporate a single dose of MDMA early in treatment with masked PE. This two-armed, double-blind, randomized clinical trial will involve 100 active-duty military, guard, and reserve personnel. Wow, active duty. And 75 recruited through UT Health San Antonio and 25 through Emory University School of Medicine. After a first therapy session, a single dose of MDMA will be given in the second session. With therapeutic guidance from two therapists. Between the two study arms, the dosage level will differ to help researchers determine the optimal dose for therapeutic benefit while maintaining the study blind. The remaining sessions will be masked PE as usual, delivering the 2-week period that MDMA theoretically enhances neuroplasticity. Participants will be assessed at 1 and 3 months post-treatment. Researchers expect that those receiving treatment will achieve significant reductions in PTSD symptoms, suicidal ideation, and depression, as well as significant increases in return to duty readiness, psychosocial functioning, and intimate relationship functioning. And so I'll let you carry on. I got to take a drink.
Yeah, sure. Researchers say if the treatment approach is successful, it could have a profound impact on optimizing PTSD treatment for military personnel with a strong push that those extreme service members into remission. Furthermore, it can be readily disseminated within the military and VA healthcare system, where PA availability is widespread and mass PE is being rolled out as a standard of care, providing opportunity for incorporating a single MDMA into treatment. Other possibilities could include MDMA's incorporation into intensive outpatient treatment programs. We truly believe this trial provides the opportunity to make major leaps forward in PTSD treatment and hopefully create a new standard of care for the field. That's the University of Texas does. All this is just about the programs and stuff. And,
I just realized that. So, anyways, very, very interesting story.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm pulling up an article, so.
I was just saying, very interesting story. And again, you say coming out of Texas, and that's big news coming out of Texas, right?
Well, I think it was Jorge. Jorge tells me research. Research is always going to be a moving pinnacle in the way that things move. Okay, and I never knew what he meant. It's kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of big. That's kind of like the wind blows, and if you pee, it'll get some on you. No, but what it means is people that come into the therapy and they come into it rounded, like let's take this one for instance. Not only are they taking inactive members, but they're taking active members. They're taking, and they're actually the.
Well, you're cracking up there. I'm losing you.
Oh yeah, so they have more possibility in results.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was very surprised to read that they were having active members as part of the study. That's really cool.
All right, our next
very cool.
Yeah, another psychedelic program comes off of BusinessWire.com, and this is Naropa University announces a 1.5 million grant for psychedelic studies program. Unlikely collaborators grant used for undergraduate minor coursework exploring therapeutic, cultural, and ecological potential of psychedelics. And this is in Boulder, Colorado, and I don't know who wrote this, but thank you for writing that.
Yeah. Naropa University, Naropa, the birthplace of the modern mindfulness movement and one of the nation's only higher education institutions grounded in a contemplative teaching approach, announced a $1.5 million grant from unlikely collaborators. There's a link there for them. The scholarship partnership opens financial support for any interested undergraduate for the BA Psychedelic Studies minor. And another link there. The scholarship opportunity creates a like-minded union between Naropa University and Unlikely Collaborators, a non-profit organization founded and chaired by Elizabeth R. Koch, dedicated to fostering transformative storytelling, developing human connection, and resolving internal conflict. UC's perspective is that external conflict is the direct result of unconscious, unresolved internal conflict inside each and every one of us, founded on the belief that how we perceive the world is highly subjective. Unlikely Collaborators supports projects that challenge assumptions, spark meaningful dialogue, and invite people into deeper self-awareness. We trust that Naropa alumni or whatever, I don't know, with their creative and innovative spirits will use their psychedelic education to problem solve some of the biggest challenges we face as a society, said Sarah Lewis, PhD, LCSW, and Director of Training and Research at Memoru Center for Visionary Healing, the independent entity spun off by Naropa for training and research in the emerging field of psychedelic-assisted therapy. Lewis was the associate professor at Naropa's Graduate School of Counseling and the field of psychedelic-assisted, at Naropa's Graduate School of Counseling and the primary architect of the academic courses comprising the new minor. From climate change to mental health crisis to inequity across the globe, we're inspired by how our undergraduates want to pursue psychedelic studies to better our world.
To fully understand the far-reaching potential of psychedelics and plant medicine, it takes years of study, practice, and apprenticeship. Just as those pursuing careers in medicine or law may concentrate in pre-med or pre-law at the undergraduate level. Naropa students who take a deep interest in better understanding the ecological, social, cultural, therapeutic impact of these powerful medicines can begin in their studies early in their academic careers. And many conflicts in the world of STEM are unconscious struggles with each of us. Psychedelics can help reveal where we're taking on beliefs that hold us back, causing us to doubt ourselves, act against our own best interest, or feel disconnected from what really matters. This scholarship empowers students to uncover and heal those inner conflicts so they can step into the world as catalysts for meaningful change. Wow, man. So it goes on about the university and collaborators, but it doesn't really talk about the psychedelic stuff anymore.
Right. So again, that's interesting. More money being put into research, right?
Right. That's in Denver, where it is one of those states where now that will make a difference. Oregon, we read an article in Oregon where they stopped their college teaching because there wasn't enough jobs to fill after people graduate.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So cool.
It's medication time!
That's right, folks. It's time to pay some bills, so stay tuned for a word from some of our sponsors, and then we will return with more articles that Bufo has chosen, making mainstream media news.
Can you see my lines for me? It went away.
I sure can. We will be back, folks, in 4 minutes and 20 seconds here on the Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network. Cheers.
Cheers! That gives me time to hit this commercial. No. Let's
Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at NOKNetwork.com.
Discover the treasure trove of flavors at Miss Jolly's Munchie Factory. Satisfy your cravings with our award-winning treats. Follow us on Instagram at Captain Rogers 705. Let Miss Jolly's Munchie Factory lift your spirits. Experience the comforting embrace of our freshly prepared soups and infused cornbread.
Join us for NOK Network monthly specials, 12 months a year. Movie nights. Spotlights on entertainment. And live on location coverage. Stay up to date about upcoming programming by subscribing to NOK Network on Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Facebook. Check out our webpage at www.noknetwork.com.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyendinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Hold it in, feel it in your wrist.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Check us out in Tyendinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyendinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Tune in daily to NOK Network's diverse podcasting lineup. Ganja News Update, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Tara Simpson and Ron McNabb. Waking Up with the Waniac, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific with Tombstoner Wayne Cruz from Tombstone, Arizona. Grow 420, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern with Ron McNabb. Psychedelic Reporters, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Hobbies Puppets and Tara Simpson. Peace, News and Views, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Sir Stevo and Kim Cooper. Thursdays we have Open Your Eye with Kim Cooper and Tara Simpson, 8 p.m. Eastern. Followed by Thursday Night Vibes at 9:15 p.m. Eastern with Master and Mama Rochi. The IWK 710 Daily Sesh airs 7 nights a week with our rotating joint hosts, nightly at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in to all the podcasting on NOK Network.
Dudettes, enjoy the show, man.
And we're back from our medication session live, everyone, here on Psychedelic Reporters here on NOK Network.
Man, we have another set of stories coming at you from the realm of psychedelic medicine. So, let's get at it. Alright. Where are we here? For some reason, this batch of articles bring it up in slower for me.
You need me to share it, or you good there?
If you could share this one, yeah, sure, that'd be fine.
Yeah, I'll do that here. I got that right up here. One more click, and then we're there. Oh, there we go. So do you want me? I can start this one off if you want. Use of psychedelics is on the rise in Canada. Doctors are starting to look at long-term risks and benefits. A study focused on those who used hallucinogens and went to ER for uncomfortable hallucinations. And this is by Amina Zafar, and this was posted on March the 3rd, 2025. And warning, the story does mention suicide. People who take prohibited psychedelics such as psilocybin or LSD or go to the emergency department for care show a higher risk of death within 5 years compared with Canada's general population, a new study suggests. Psychedelics are a subclass of hallucinogenic drugs. In the last 10 years, use of drugs such as ketamine, psilocybin, ayahuasca, and MDMA or ecstasy increased in Canada and the United States. In the US, the percentage of people reporting they used hallucinogens more than doubled from 3.8% in 2016 to 8.9% in 2021. Use varies widely from microdosing psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, as part of supervised treatment, to recreational use of the illegal substances. And Dr. Daniel Myron, a family physician and researcher at the University of Ottawa, recognized that in Canada, an estimated 5.9% of people used a psychedelic such as psilocybin in 2023, and use as high as 13.9% in people aged 20 to 24. It's a trend he sees among his own patients. And in Monday's issue of the Canadian Medical Association Journal, with a link there, Myron and his team start to look at the potential long-term effects of using hallucinogens, specifically risk of death.
We have a huge amount of hype and buzz about psychedelic-assisted therapy, Myron said. In psychedelic-assisted therapy, psychedelics such as psilocybin are combined with psychotherapy to treat post-traumatic stress disorder and treatment-resistant depression. When Myron asked people in his practice why they're interested in psychedelics, some have the notion it'll help their mental health and that there aren't a lot of risks, but there are no clear proof that's the case. He says, given clinical trials exclude individuals who may be at higher risk of poor outcomes. I think we just don't have that degree or data or certainty. Study looked at ER hospitalization to better understand if there's an association between hallucinogens increased risk of death. Researchers looked at the subset of users who had interacted with the medical system using healthcare data held by ICES, Ontario's Health Research Institute. They examined emergency department visits, hospitalizations, and outpatient physician visits for more than 11.4 million people from 15 to 105 in Ontario. Of the total group, 7,954 or less than 0.1% saw acute care for hallucinogen use. The people who use hallucinogens went to emergency were having bad reactions like uncomfortable hallucinations, severe anxiety attacks. They are a group that's at really high risk, probably very close observation intervention, and thoughts about what can you do to reduce the risk. And Myron, who is also a public health and preventive medicine researcher with ICF. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Within 5 years, 482 or 6.1% of people seeking acute care involving hallucinogens died, compared with 460, 0.6% of those in the general population of the same age and sex, the researchers reported. It's important to note, Myron said, that pattern doesn't tell us anything about cause and effect and whether hallucinogens played a role in the deaths. But when the researchers looked at causes of death for some hints, they found associations with suicide, other drug poisonings, lung disease, and cancer, which Myron said probably reflects higher rates of smoking among those using hallucinogens. Features like suicide make me much more worried about is this capturing some element of hallucinogens, said Myron, given self-harm was one of the elevated causes of death observed in the study. The study had some limitations. The researchers didn't know what kind of hallucinogen people were taking or how they took it. Well, that's a really big thing there, right? You kind of need to know that to find more information.
They just wanted to be researchers.
Yeah, right. And people who are in the emergency department or hospitalized because of hallucinogen use also tend to have chronic health conditions such as asthma, high blood pressure, and emergency department visits for depression compared with the general population. They're also more likely to have received care for substance use problems, the researcher said. The findings highlight the need for ongoing investigation and dissemination of both potential benefits and risks from hallucinogen use, particularly for use outside clinical trial settings, given rapid increases in general population use, the study's authors wrote. Medical supervision urged. Dr. Jennifer Swainson, an associate clinical professor at the University of Alberta and a psychiatrist at the Misericordia Community Hospital in Edmonton, prescribes and studies ketamine for treatment-resistant depression as part of clinical trials. To put the Ontario findings in context, Swainson compared the 7,000 hospital visits reported among hallucinogen users in the study to the almost 400,000 for alcohol and more than 70,000 each for opioids and stimulants such as methamphetamine. I think what the public needs to take away is that if these drugs are abused or misused outside of proper medical supervision, there are risks associated with them, but also not to overcall it, said Swainson, who was not involved in the CMAJ study.
Wow.
And, yeah, so, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, I think there's actually a little bit more to the story.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. I'll finish the last little bit.
Oh, okay.
These drugs affect the brains from and the effects will differ depending on a person's underlying mental health and and family history of psychosis and or risks. Oh, we've lost Hobbies. Hobbies will be back in a moment, folks. Or risks related to substance use. There are also different categories of use, several physicians said, If someone is prescribed ketamine by their physician for their depression or PTSD, and they're having follow-ups with a doctor, those aren't the ones who are have the higher risk of death identified in the study, she said. Swainson said there's a large movement of underground use of hallucinogens, both recreationally and in pseudotherapeutic settings, where an individual guides others on different psychedelic experiences under the premise that it will be therapeutic. And Swainson is working with psychedelic health researchers in Kingston to look at what measures should be in place in clinical trials to look at potential abuse liability risks. So there you go. And we got hobbies there. We got Todd back in the house. So are you able to pull up the next story, or do you want me to pull it up?
No, I just got it. I just pulled it up.
There you go. Okay, so we'll remove mine. There we go.
All right. So our next article right here is straight out of John Hopkins Medicine, hopkinsmedicine.org. Okay, psychedelic research, evidence-based messaging, informed consent, and adverse event surveillance. John Hopkins experts collaborate on psychedelic ethics guidelines and develop education video about psychedelic risk. This right here, right here, published in Clinical Connections. This is the winter article. John Hopkins Center for Psychedelic and Conscious Research hosted the Oxford Psychedelic Ethics Hope Summit in August 2024 in Washington, D.C. Participants revisited the June 2023 statements from Oxford Summit, expanded stakeholder input, considering implementation guidelines, and fostered new ongoing collaborations. But not least, participants aim to get a sense of the major issues and directions in the field to help guide the organizers' drafting of a response to the recent congressional request for information on implementation of potential psychedelic therapies. And that was led by Berman Institute of Bioethics, Dr. Students, and fellow Catherine Jones. The topics of both the Oxford and John Hopkins meetings are in the Hope statement link right there. It's a clicky linky. But you want to continue on, or?
Yeah, I'll continue. David Yaden, the Griffiths Professor of Psychedelic Research, answers a potpourri of questions about psychedelics research. Please tell us about the purpose of psychedelic risks, side effects, and potential harms video. This is as per DBY, which is David Yaden. This is his response to that question there, or that statement. We aim to uphold the triparity, I don't know how to say that word, tripartite mission of the tripartite mission of the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. So we engage in frequent public education about psychedelics. There is a lot of extreme messaging out there that is not evidence-based. Some think psychedelics are going to cure every mental disorder, while others still think psychedelics are merely drugs of abuse with no redeeming value. Neither of these perspectives fit the facts. This public service announcement was a way to offer some information to the general public in a short and simple video that provides an evidence-based perspective. We have observed substantial potential for psychedelics as therapeutics when administered under supportive conditions, and there are other benefits to psychedelics that we're still quantifying. But there are also real risks, and it is part of our work to make sure these are communicated. And there's a suggested reading there of by doctor, but D.B. Yaden rather. And then the next question is, could you expand on the current informed consent process in psychedelics research, and what kind of research would help improve the process? And his response was, psychedelics do not pose unique challenges to informed consent, as there are plenty of other medical interventions that involve potentially major changes to function and identity. So psychedelics are not exceptional in this regard, but psychedelics do have a set of features that makes them distinct and are therefore worth substantial consideration. And I'm going to have you carry on, Todd, because I got to take another drink.
Yeah, compared to many interventions, classic is psychedelic, like psilocybin, have a quite good safety profile, at least insofar as it is very difficult to die from an overdose or to become addicted. However, the informed consent process in psychedelic research is complex because of, among other reasons, psychedelic substances can involve shifts in perception that are very difficult to describe. Traditional consent models often struggle to convey how psychedelic experiences feel or fully address mid-session capacity changes. Research needs include comparative studies of different consent delivery methods, including enhanced consent methods like video modules or peer education, adaptive consent processes that ensure participants remain informed and safe throughout preparation, the session itself, and follow-up and participant feedback on potential improvements to consent documents. We are partnering with the Johns Hopkins Berman Institute of Bioethics to improve our study consent documents. Suggested readings from BD-K DB 2025 description but not exceptional. The list of psychedelic ethical exceptionalism, the American Journal of Bioethics 251 1628. In a verse, meta-analyst, what were your findings of serious adverse events and non-serious adverse events in clinical studies? And DBY's answer, this is a project led by current Hopkins psychiatry resident Jared Hinkle. It's worth emphasizing that these results derive from students of classic psychedelics like psilocybin and carefully controlled clinical studies, and further to recognize that these studies have closely screened participants to exclude those at increased risk for cardiovascular or psychiatric complications, particularly psychosis. So those conclusions should not be generalized to other studies, such as recreational use. You want to continue on, Ron?
Yeah, for an adverse event to be classified as serious, it must involve potentially life-threatening consequences, hospitalization, or death. Among studies of healthy participants without known psychiatric conditions, we identified no reports of SAEs during or after treatment with the classic psychedelics, psilocybin, LSD, DMT, or 5-MeO-DMT. The SAE rate was approximately 4% in studies with participants who had psychiatric conditions such as depression, anxiety, or substance use disorders, but in most cases it was difficult to assess the potential causal relationship between the SAE and psychedelic experience. We are not entirely sure why the SAE rate was higher for participants with psychiatric conditions. It could be due to a higher baseline risk for dangerous occurrences in these populations, more intensive surveillance for adverse events in the relevant trials, exacerbation of psychiatric disorders by psychedelic substances in predisposed individuals, or other reasons entirely. We advocate for improved and more standardized adverse event recording and reporting practices in this field. We separately analyzed NSAEs that were significant enough to warrant medical or psychiatric evaluation, and rates of NSAEs involving suicidal behavior, psychotic symptoms, manic symptoms, cardiovascular events, and hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, HPPD, were about 1% or less across each classic psychedelic and each category of participant, with one exception being that about 3% of participants given DMT experienced some cardiovascular adverse event that required medical intervention. Other NSAEs that didn't fit one of these one of these categories occurred in less than 2% of healthy participants and less than 4% of participants with neuropsychiatric conditions with some variability based on the drug. And suggested reading is Hinkle JT, Graciosi M, Nayak SM, and Yaden DB 2024. Adverse Events in Studies of Classic Psychedelics, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. And that is from JAMA Psychiatry.
What directions would you recommend for your pharmacovigilance? I says pharmacovigilance and psychedelic research should match the standards applied elsewhere in medical science. In randomized clinical trials, investigators need to comply with established guidelines such as consolidated standards of reporting trials from source. Others have designs to still incorporate systematic methods for detecting and categorizing harm, with protocols specified how adverse events should be reported, graded for severity, and attributed to the intervention. In publications, adverse event data should be presented clearly. Transparent reporting informs contingency planning for future studies. Pharmacovigilance can further strengthen by prospectively tracking adverse events of special interest, such as cardiovascular issues, perceptual abnormalities, and affective instability or behavioral changes. For the reporting of adverse events in psychedelic science has room for improvement, which we advocate for. It's worth noting that above the average across all areas of medical research, there is room for improvement in clinical science. Generally, it is possible that the innovations we are advancing in psychedelic research should be used to improve other areas as well, suggested the adverse effects should not be surprising in psychedelic research. Psychedelic research. I'm very thankful that Bluefoot alerted us of that. And Johns Hopkins University is one of the bigger research known facilities in psychedelic research. So to get this and for them to kind of cover and kind of base and be like, hey, I mean, we 2024 got kicked in the dick. With psychedelic use for the DEA, a lot of like hearings and stuff, and even you and I read about how the LSU guys went to go there, and
Right. So, another great story that Bufo brought to us tonight, right?
Yeah, it was. And that's going to be the end of the story because that brings us to our live hour. We got 5 people watching, but it's been an hour. And thank you for joining us here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network. and for tuning into our video podcast on NOK Network's Rumble and YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
That's right, and we hope you all enjoyed your update on mainstream media coverage of psychedelic medicine advancements from around the globe.
Many thanks to our sponsor and to my joint host, Sarah Simpson, and to Bufo Various and Rob McNabb for subbing for Sarah Simpson. And to Bufo Various for choosing the stories for us and you, the listener, for joining each week on Psychedelic Tuesday. Let's hear from Jen Ringer again from Kirkland Lake on our way out. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Thanks for joining us, Brad.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Good night, everyone.
Looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of